Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Metabolism and Menopause podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I am your host and CEO of Vitality OET. We are a women's nutrition, health, and fitness company that focuses predominantly on women's hormones, particularly as they start going through perimenopause and onwards. We know that you start experiencing so many changes in this time of your life, whether that be hot flashes, night sweats, irritability, brain fog, or weight gain around the middle that seems to have come out of absolutely nowhere. So you go back to your tried and true methods of cutting calories, cutting carbs, doing a bunch of cardio, yet nothing seems to be working the way it used to. You start feeling more tired, your sleep is going to crap, and the scale ends up moving in the wrong direction, or you're putting in all this effort and seeing zero changes. But we know now that your body is inherently different than what it was prior to you experiencing these hormonal changes. So our mission here at Vitality is to help you understand how your body has changed in this time of your life so you can reach your health and fitness goals, live a life full of vitality, finally feel in control and at home in your body again, and really understand how to take care of this new body of yours. So today, what we're going to be talking about are the hormonal imbalances that really prevent fat loss and menopause. It's the most common ones that we see, especially when we're doing our Dutch testing and our hormonal symptom assessments. But first, I really am in a place where I am getting angry. And there's some things I just want to get off my chest before we hop into all the sciencey stuff here. And it's that I cannot believe the stories that I am getting from women. I am talking to women who are 250 pounds, 180 pounds. They're eating 1,100 calories, 1,200 calories. They're fasting. They're doing multiple workouts in a day, multiple workouts in a week. They are exhausted. Their hormones have completely tanked, and they can't seem to get rid of their weight despite doing everything right and eating clean and not having a ton of carbohydrates, right? Because apparently that's something we're supposed to do now, which is completely bizarre and wrong, but I'll get to that later. But people are letting this consume their life, and they are living in a perpetual state of exhaustion and just feeling hopeless and desperate. And they go to a doctor and they tell them that they're obese, that they need to lose weight because their blood sugars are too high, or their cholesterol is too high, or, their blood pressure is too high, all these things. They're like, okay, well, you need to lose weight. Do you not think that we are aware of this? Do you not think that person hasn't tried? And when you tell that woman to eat less, move more, cut calories, cut carbs, do more exercise, do you think that they haven't tried that yet? Do you not realize that the advice that you are giving is making things worse? Because you don't understand how the whole human body works. You've gotten no education on nutrition or exercise. And ethically, the state that I am seeing some of these women coming into our program, the state that these women are coming and talking to me in my DMs or hopping on calls where they're in tears because they just don't know what to do anymore. And then I finally explain things and it just makes sense, but it's so backwards from what doctors have said. Or I have women who have been in our program and they are sleeping better than they have slept in years. They have energy again. They finally feel good. And then they go to their freaking doctor appointment and their doctor tells them they're obese 4 times, and then that they have to cut their calories, that they got to do more cardio. And then they message us crying, being upset, being like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Like, I feel so good, but my doctor's telling me to do this. Ethically, that is so wrong. And I cannot believe how much people are not, how much many doctors and other trainers and things like that, like other professionals in the field, they are so sure and they don't take the effort to learn about hormones and menopause because it's not something that interests them, right? Like they just keep doing what they're doing. You need to keep learning. You need to keep understanding, because the state physically and emotionally of the women that I am seeing and talking to, it is so freaking heartbreaking. Sorry, I'm going to start crying. Like, I cannot believe, like, doctors and other health practitioners have such a sense of, they have authority. People will listen to them, right? If your doctor tells you to do something, typically you're going to want to behave at first and follow their instructions. But half the time it's making things worse. Our healthcare system is so broken. And half the people that I talk to that I've talked to or worked with other trainers and other coaches and other doctors and all these things. I had a woman tell me that she was eating 800 calories, struggling to lose weight, obviously felt like garbage, and her doctor offered to put her on an appetite suppressant so that she would eat less than 800 calories to lose weight. Are you freaking kidding me? So for me, it is so important, and I am so passionate about this, to just help people really understand how their body functions and how it works, and really understand what you're doing and how it impacts your body, your specific body, because there is such a huge barrier of access to be able to understand that. And if you don't understand how your body works, how the heck are you supposed to take care of it? You can't. And I'm so sorry that this is happening. I'm sorry that I'm getting emotional, but like, this is insane. So if you find anything helpful in the podcasts, in the posts that we make, anything, please share it, because it is so heartbreaking to me to continually hear the stories over and over and over again. And I'm not saying don't reach out to me, because I want to help you and I will help you as much as I can for free. Always. Like, I will give you the resources, the support, all those things to the best of my abilities. You don't have to be in coaching with us, but just share the information, because if we can get more women understanding how their body functions and what they actually need, and how the fasting, the low calorie, the low carb, the tons of cardio, and all these crazy intense things that we just become all so consumed with, and it just takes over our entire life, and it's all that we think about. What kind of life is that? And we're not even getting healthier. We're not even getting happier. So if you find anything helpful, please share, because just some of the stories I've been hearing of lately have been so extreme and so heartbreaking. Sorry. I was told today not to say sorry when I cry, but I care so much, and I just want to help you guys. So if you find stuff helpful, please share, because we have to stop this. Like, we have to stop it. So now that I got my little rant over and got some tears out of me to continue to my dehydration, because I'm still getting healthy from being sick, so I'm still feeling dehydrated. But now let's talk about what you actually came here for, is the hormonal imbalances that are really preventing fat loss in menopause. These are the most common ones that we see when we're doing Dutch testing with women, when we're doing our hormonal symptom assessments. And I don't think people, like, you'll get your tests done, you'll get blood work done, but we don't really understand what impact that has. Like, we'll just be given medication or things like that, but no one really tells you the implication of those things and how it affects your health, your metabolism, your ability to lose weight, your blood pressure, your blood sugars, all those things. We don't get enough education around that. So I want to really teach you guys about this today, and really understand some stuff, specifically with like cortisol and blood testing as well, because this is something that I think gets misunderstood a lot. So I'm just going to dive deep into some of these things. It'll be a little bit more sciencey today, so take your time with all this stuff. Listen back if you need to. If you have questions, just message me again. I'm always here. I'm always accessible. There might just be a couple days delayed depending on what we have going on and how many messages I'm getting on a daily basis, but I will always answer you. I promise you that. I will never, ever, ever not answer. And if it says that I've read and I haven't answered, it's because I probably had it open on my laptop and then went to my phone and then didn't see, like, it got marked as read, but I didn't answer it on my phone and then it got missed. So if it shows read and I haven't answered, please message me again. That's not me ignoring you. That's like me literally just technology or forgetting. Like, I'm not purposely ignoring you. Like, I want to help. So please message me. Please ask all the questions you have. Okay, so let's kick it all off. Many women that I talk to feel like their body is working against them, right? You're doing what I was talking about. You're doing everything right. You're eating healthy. You're eating clean. You're not eating that many calories. You're doing all the exercise. But you also feel like you're almost fighting against your body a lot. Like, everything that you used to do just isn't working anymore, despite getting guidance from some people telling you to just, eat less, move more, eat less, move more. And it just feels like your body is just stopped. It's just like, we're not doing this. We're not doing it. And you're not alone. Most of the time, medical professionals or other fitness professionals who don't know any better will convince you that it's your fault, or you're the problem, or you're not tracking accurately, or you must not be honest, or things like that. But I'm here to tell you that that's not the case. This is not completely your fault. Like, yes, the actions that we're doing might not be getting us to where we want to be, but it's because no one has given you the opportunity to learn properly. No one's given you the resources and support that you need in order to be successful. So that's what we're doing here today. Most of the time, your body isn't necessarily working against you, and your body isn't just being difficult. It's your body telling you that there's something else going on, and it's out of balance. It is literally a cry for help. So what if we told you that the answer to your body screaming and all those kinds of things, all these symptoms that you're experiencing, the blood sugar, the cholesterol, the body fat, the hair thinning, the loss of libido, the irritability, the bloating, the mood swings, those are actually hormonal imbalances being the root cause of what's going on. So hormonal imbalances are a very common place in women. We see it more and more pronounced in perimenopause when we pair environmental hormonal imbalances with the onset of natural hormone shifts, where our body just naturally stops producing as much progesterone and estrogen. Okay, so environmental hormonal imbalances are going to come from stress, whether that's work stress, life stress, relationships, kids, chronic pain, injury, your body holding on to trauma or past accidents, grief, not eating enough food, not having enough carbohydrates, not sleeping enough, doing too much exercise or inappropriate exercise. All of these things change the scope and the mindset of something called our HPA axis, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later. But that's basically our stress response system, but I'm going to dive into that afterwards. But what I do want you to be very, very aware of is that we have a hierarchy of hormones. So I know we talk about stress lots, but I cannot stress this enough. Haha, funny pun. Wordsmith, whatever you want to call it. But what we have is, if you're looking at a pyramid, at the top of the pyramid, you have cortisol. And cortisol is the thing that just rules everything, okay? It controls every other hormone below it. So you have cortisol, you have insulin, then you have your sex hormones, so testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, thyroid, everything underneath. So we end up trying to address the thyroid thing, or the testosterone thing, or the estrogen, the progesterone. But we're not aware that we need to address cortisol, because basically what we're doing is we're trying to put Band-Aids at the bottom of the bucket, but we're still pouring a ton of water in the bucket. So we're not actually solving the problem. We're just adding Band-Aids. The root cause issue is still happening underneath. And it's really important to be aware of this, because cortisol is going to directly slow down your thyroid function, which slows down your metabolism. You're going to see it slow down hormone production, such as your testosterone, your estrogen, your progesterone. You're going to see blood sugar dysregulation. So we start seeing a higher increase of insulin resistance. We start seeing our gut health go to crap. We start seeing our liver health go to crap. So we start trying to fix the liver, the gut, all these things. But until we address cortisol, which is the root cause of all these other hormonal issues and symptoms we have in our body, like, you're playing a losing game, because you're not actually fixing the thing that's the problem. So this is, all of those factors together are not going to only influence your overall stress response, but the communication that your brain has with your thyroid, your sex hormones, and everything else in your body, because your body's going to prioritize things, and it's always going to prioritize stress. This is very, very important to be aware of. So like I said, we are able to see hormonal imbalances through Dutch testing that we do. It is a wonderful, comprehensive diagnostic tool that allows for a really thorough evaluation of an individual's hormonal imbalances and function. It's designed to assess the levels of various hormones and their metabolites in the body, providing really important insights on hormonal imbalances and the potential underlying health issues that go along with it. So what it is, it's a 24-hour urine test. You get these little papers, you pee on them on certain times of day. They tell you when you can't have caffeine, you can't have banana and avocado and a couple other things it'll say on the paper. But what it does is it really shows us a full picture of your whole day. So for example, if I were to get my blood tested for cortisol and I took it in the morning, it would be high-ish, but in that normal range. So I'd be like, oh, cool, my cortisol is fine. However, when I did the Dutch test, turns out my body is very poor at getting rid of cortisol. So it just kept going up and up and up throughout the day, and then would come down at nighttime, but not that far, and then spike back up again. So if I would have taken my cortisol in the afternoon, I may have had an indication that it was high. So what you are doing is what time of day and what you're doing is really going to impact your blood tests with cortisol in particular. So for example, if you fasted, if you had carbohydrates, if you worked out, if you had a poor sleep, if you're going through stressful times, all those things are going to really influence the levels of cortisol in your blood. And you can't tell if your body's good at getting rid of it, which is the perk of the Dutch testings. It tells us so much. So it really shows us if we're producing too much, too little, if we can't break it down, if we can't get rid of it. And those can really contribute to a ton of symptoms like fatigue, mood swings, weight gain, and more aggressive perimenopausal symptoms. So as coaches, this test really gives us some great information on key hormones, including that cortisol, our primary stress hormone, to really evaluate our body's stress response and really see how our adrenal glands are functioning as well. It's going to examine, again, how well we are at breaking things down. And if things aren't getting broken down, or they are getting broken down, are they getting shuttled to different pathways? So for example, is pregnenolone actually going towards progesterone to help produce progesterone? Or is it getting shuttled somewhere else and being prioritized somewhere else? And based on where things are being prioritized, we can tell what we need to work on, what the underlying issues are, okay? It is one of the most accurate ways to test individuals with hormone levels and detox metabolites in their body. Blood tests are way more unreliable when it comes to hormones like estrogen and cortisol because these hormones fluctuate so much throughout the day in our blood. And taking one test as a snapshot in time, that may not tell us the full story. So that would be okay, let's say I decide to consistently weigh myself in the evening instead of in the morning. In the morning, I've gone to the bathroom. I'm as consistent morning to morning as I can be. Then if I choose to weigh myself in the evening, let's say I fluctuate 5 pounds because maybe I'm constipated, or maybe I've eaten a lot of food that day, but it's only a single snapshot in time. So that doesn't tell me anything about how good my body is at losing fat or gaining muscle or things like that. It's just a snapshot in time. So if I were going based on weighing myself in the afternoon, I would think that I'm not doing as well as I am if I were weighing myself in the morning. So it's the same kind of thing with blood tests. So why is this even important? Why is understanding hormones throughout the day and the detox pathways and all those things so important? Because hormonal imbalances are the leading cause of fatigue, digestion issues, weight loss resistance, and mood disorders in women over the age of 40. Hormonal imbalances impact so much in our life, so really understanding this is important. And the thing that makes me mad is that lots of doctors, you go in asking for a test and they don't want to test you, and they'll just put you on something and hope that it works. They're literally guessing. I could do just as good a job at that. That is not okay. You have a right to know what's going on in your body. And unfortunately, it doesn't really seem to be a priority in Western medicine right now, which is crazy. And I hope it changes one day. But I think the system is failing us, unfortunately. So now I'm going to talk about the most common issues that we see on the Dutch tests and what that really means for your fat loss journey. Because this is important to understand, okay, maybe I have low estrogen. What does that actually mean for my health? What does that actually mean for my ability to lose weight? What does that mean? Because usually they'll say, oh, you have low estrogen, take this. That didn't learn anything. You don't understand what that's impacting and implications and side effects or anything like that. So let's talk about low estrogen first. During perimenopause, low estrogen levels in women can give rise to a lot of physical symptoms and really contribute to a lot of potential weight loss resistance or even weight gain. And this is because estrogen plays a really critical role in maintaining our reproductive health and influencing various bodily functions. So we see estrogen levels start to decline, and women may start to experience symptoms like our hot flashes, our night sweats, vaginal dryness, changes in our menstrual patterns. It can affect our bone density, so bone loss starts to occur, which increases our risk of osteopenia and osteoporosis and fractures. as well as we start seeing poor connective tissue health, so we're more prone to injuries. Estrogen is also responsible for glucose and lipid metabolism, as well as muscle retention and growth, and helps us really buffer stress in our body. So what we see is when estrogen goes down, we have a much harder time regulating our blood sugars. And I talked about this on a past podcast very recently. So you can go back and hear about that. The answer is not to cut carbs. Don't be doing that on me. But you're also going to see it's a lot harder to build and maintain muscle mass when estrogen is low. It's also hard to build and maintain muscle mass when carbs are low. It's hard to build and maintain muscle mass when we're doing a bunch of cardio or we're not eating enough calories in general. It's hard to build and maintain muscle mass if we're not getting enough sleep. And you're also going to find it's really hard to build and maintain muscle mass when our stress overall is high, when our cortisol levels are high. It breaks down muscle for energy. So you might be getting smaller, but your body fat percentage actually goes up. And estrogen helps keep cortisol levels under control. So when estrogen starts to decline, instead of being able to handle a 9 out of 10 on the stress scale before we start to see things really start to go sideways, now we can only handle a 5 out of 10. And now we start seeing some pretty aggressive symptoms. And then when it comes to weight, low estrogen can contribute to weight gain, especially in the abdominal region. So that belly fat, that tire, the menopause belly, this can be due to low estrogen. And this weight gain can be accompanied due to that decrease in muscle mass that I talked to and an increase in your body fat percentage because of those imbalanced estrogen levels. Estrogen, again, helps regulate metabolism and insulin sensitivity. So its decrease can lead to an imbalance in your blood sugar levels, which again is going to potentially hinder your fat loss efforts. It's going to result in more fat gain or fat storage. You're going to have more cravings, more energy crashes, and insulin dysregulation, which all make it very hard to manage your weight. Because if you're having cravings all the time and energy crashes all the time, of course, you're going to be reaching for the sugary snacks, the chocolates, the chips, all those kinds of things. Estrogen also influences your appetite and your satiety signals. So when it starts to go down, it can really disrupt our natural hunger cues and our fullness cues. So that can lead to us feeling more hungry or never feeling satisfied after a meal. So you have something, you're like, I didn't really hit the spot. And then you go looking for something else. These factors all together with low estrogen, that all the side effects that come with low estrogen, can make it really challenging for women to lose weight or maintain a healthy weight in menopause. So if you're struggling with maintaining muscle mass, if you're struggling with not feeling satisfied at meals, if you're struggling with low energy and you're struggling with your blood sugars, how is cutting calories and cutting carbs and doing more exercise supposed to help? Because what ends up happening is we end up having too much stress on our body, and cortisol makes all that worse and actually lowers our estrogen levels even more. So we actually make the problem worse by trying to do all these extreme modes of dieting and extreme ways of trying to lose weight. That's really, again, important to understand. Nobody talks about these things. Then we have low progesterone or estrogen dominance. So these two kind of go hand in hand, because you can have estrogen dominance from your body producing too much estrogen, your body not being able to get rid of estrogen. So you get like a building up of estrogen in your body, or that your progesterone is too low compared to your estrogen, which is typically what we see in most women, is that progesterone drops very quickly. So then the ratio of estrogen to progesterone is off. You have too much estrogen compared to progesterone, and you start experiencing all these estrogen dominant type symptoms. So low progesterone. This is something I personally struggled with for quite some time. I mentioned that on a past podcast, so I won't get into it too much here. Otherwise, we'll be here forever because I got a lot of hormones to go through. But progesterone levels in women, when they start to go through perimenopause and menopause, it is going to lower slowly over time. And it can lead to a range of physical symptoms and can impact your weight loss abilities, or it can even result in weight gain. Progesterone plays, of course, a very vital role in the regulation of your menstrual cycle and supporting your pregnancies. But as women enter perimenopause, progesterone is going to decline slowly. It should be a nice slow decline. It shouldn't be a very rapid drop. When we see this decrease, we can result in symptoms like irregular heavy periods, mood swings, sleep disturbances. It can also affect fluid balance, so you're more likely to experience a lot more bloating and water retention. And it helps regulate your metabolism and your thyroid function. So its decline can actually slow down your metabolism and contribute to weight gain or finding it hard to lose weight. So when progesterone goes down, thyroid function goes down. And your thyroid is a thermostat that determines how many calories your body burns at rest. So if thyroid function is low, your body is very crappy at burning calories. We don't want that. But when progesterone is low, thyroid function tends to go down with it. But the thing with that is most doctors are like, oh, we'll just monitor it. Oh, we'll just monitor it. Oh, we just monitor it. And honestly, that's like being like, you have cancer, but we're going to wait till it's like severe enough before we start to treat it. That's garbage. That's such garbage. Again, I could go on rants for days about the medical system right now because I just think it's failing. Yes, there are some really great doctors out there, but unfortunately, the vast majority, that's not where we're at. So hopefully we can see a good change in upcoming doctors, maybe even current doctors, because it's desperately needed. Okay, so we talked about the thyroid there with low progesterone, but the other thing is low progesterone really disrupts the balance between progesterone and estrogen, which can lead to exacerbated weight gain and other perimenopausal symptoms. And it's important for women experiencing these symptoms or struggling with weight management during perimenopause to seek medical advice and assess hormone levels and explore appropriate interventions to restore hormonal imbalance and support well-being. So with progesterone, the thing is when cortisol levels go up, so we talked about when estrogen goes down, we lose that cortisol buffer. So it takes a lot less stress for our body to start experiencing higher levels of cortisol and the negative side effects that go with it. So when cortisol goes up, we see that our progesterone production decreases because our body will actually take the precursor needed to produce progesterone and give it to cortisol. So in a stressed environment, your body cannot produce progesterone. And during perimenopause and menopause, when production starts to decline, then we see this aggressive drop in progesterone levels leading to sudden excessive weight gain, really aggressive bloating. And this is because of that cortisol stealing the precursor for progesterone. So usually when we see really exaggerated sudden weight gain, low progesterone that just drops very quickly tends to be one of the biggest issues that we're seeing. And again, cortisol can go up from not eating enough food, not having enough carbohydrates, doing too much exercise, not sleeping enough, and then everyday stresses of the COVID we just went through and finances and relationships and family and sick kids and sick parents and, all the things that are going on in our lives right now. We think that we're quote unquote handling it well, but these things are still happening in our body regardless, especially if you're not eating enough food. So now we're talking about low testosterone. I did a whole podcast on low testosterone. I highly recommend you go back and see, because I'm just going to touch on a couple things here. But low testosterone levels in women during perimenopause can give rise to a lot of physical symptoms and potentially really contribute to weight loss resistance and weight gain. Testosterone, even though we always think about it as like being a male hormone, it also plays a crucial role in women's health. We just don't talk about it very much, which we should be, because as we approach perimenopause, testosterone levels naturally start to decline, and this decrease can result in physical symptoms like fatigue, reduced muscle mass, decreased strength, and diminished libido. And what's actually supposed to happen is when progesterone and estrogen go down, testosterone is supposed to come up a little bit to help kind of take over for estrogen and progesterone for some of those things, with the muscle mass and the energy and strength and muscle mass and libido. But a lot of women we talk to struggle with low testosterone, and they've been tested. And low testosterone really affects our body composition because it leads to an increase in body fat percentage and a decrease in your lean muscle mass. So it makes it really hard to build and maintain muscle mass because you have low estrogen, you're not eating enough food, not having enough carbs, not eating enough protein, doing the wrong kinds of exercise, you're not sleeping, you're not recovering, and you have low testosterone. All those things contribute to breaking down muscle for energy, which means the scale might be going down, but you don't feel like you look any more toned or you don't look any more fit. And it's because your body fat actually percentage actually goes up because you're not losing enough body fat compared to muscle mass. You're losing more muscle mass. So you're actually losing muscle tone, which is not why I'm sure all of you are dieting and working so hard in the gym and watching your diets, right? That's not what you want. Yet that's what we're doing. So another thing too to be aware of is like low testosterone can really cause weight gain in the abdominal area. So that spare tire people talk about, that menopause belly, and it really influences our metabolic rate and our insulin sensitivity as well. So we know that when things are off with our blood sugar, it can make it quite challenging to lose weight because, again, we're struggling with energy and cravings, and it can really hinder our weight loss efforts and contribute to weight gain quite rapidly and making it a lot more challenging to lose fat, which is never a good time. Then we have high androgens. So high androgen levels in women during perimenopause can lead to a lot of various physical symptoms and potentially contribute to weight loss resistance and weight gain once again. Androgens are considered those male hormones. That's what we always think about, right? But women also have them just in much smaller amounts. And during perimenopause and when we start having hormonal fluctuations, we can actually see these androgens start to go up. And this can manifest in symptoms like acne, excessive facial or body hair growth, hair thinning on your scalp. It can also lead to a further imbalance between estrogen and progesterone, which makes more symptoms, which are not fun to deal with. And it can even lead to PCOS in some cases. I do want to note, in order to be diagnosed with PCOS, you do need to have blood work and ultrasound done. Just having cysts is not enough. So just be aware of that. Don't start thinking all of a sudden you have PCOS. Just get tested if you need to. But regarding weight, high androgens can contribute to weight gain, again, especially in the abdominal area. There's a trend here. I hope you're starting to see that. But it can impact your metabolism, lead to insulin resistance, which can affect our blood sugar levels, and again, lead to crashes and cravings and low energy levels, and hinder those weight loss efforts that we are working so hard towards. So when we feel like we're, doing everything right and we're doing good, and then, I just fall off the wagon, or, I gave into this, your hormones are telling you something, and it's time we have to start listening to that. It's not just a lack of willpower. It's your body telling you, hey, things are off and we need help here. And usually it's that you're not eating enough food. And additionally, elevated androgens can also lead to an increased appetite, which can lead to overeating and, again, making it very difficult to lose weight. Then we have the wonderful, wonderful cortisol. Like I mentioned, I have a podcast on cortisol that you guys can go back to that has a lot of information. That's the podcast that when people listen to, they're like, this makes sense. So I highly recommend you go back to that one. But let's talk about this here a little bit first. So remember how I talked about our HPA axis way at the beginning, and I thought that we would talk about it a little bit later. Now it is later. So our HPA axis is basically just our stress response system. It's how our brain communicates with our adrenal glands, telling the adrenals to produce more or less cortisol based on the environment and what it thinks as a stress. So it's not what your thoughts think, it's what your brain thinks. So this is unconscious things. It's your body taking inventory of the environment internally and externally, and then communicating with your adrenal glands. So again, you might think that you're handling things well, but your body is going to do its own thing. You cannot trick it this way, okay? So the HPA axis can be trained over time to be more or less sensitive to things. Okay, so unfortunately, our environment and how we react to it causes higher stress sensitivity, leading to more cortisol over the smallest stressors. This is not a recipe for success. This is something that I really struggle with. It's something that I've been working on for a long time. I'm still not super good at it. It's something that I need to be very mindful of, and I work really hard on. So with physical stress, I tend to be able to handle that a bit better. So exercise and stuff like that, because I've always been a pretty active person. Emotional stress though, my body will literally shut down. It does not take much for my body to just be like, okay, now we're done. It overreacts because it's become very sensitive to emotional stress just from childhood trauma, from losing my mom 2 years ago, from, I've been through a lot, unfortunately. I'm going to be crying again. As you can tell, I've been going through some emotional stress lately, so it doesn't take very much to trigger things right now. But for me, it's the smallest emotional stress now really, really impacts my body. So before, I feel like I could handle quite a bit when I was younger. And now it's like, we had some bad news about our friend's little 3-year-old being diagnosed with leukemia. And like I found out yesterday. She messaged me in the morning, and all of yesterday, it was like I had to nap. I was not able to do the things that I normally do, despite eating more food and stuff. Like, my body is very sensitive to emotional stressors that way, because my body has just become very sensitive to it because I've experienced so much. And it's something, again, that I'm working on, and I'm very much aware of it. Taylor's very much aware of it. He's very supportive when he knows that I'm going through it, because he knows that a crash is coming. But like, it takes time for you to like realize these things and be in tune with your body and realize what's going on. Like, you might be, because like I used to get very upset with myself and be like, oh man, like, I know I'm overreacting. Why am I being so over emotional? This is so ridiculous. Like I'd get like frustrated with myself almost. And now I'm like, okay, this is what my body's been conditioned to. I need to slowly work on this. And it is something that I'm working on, but it's going to take time when you've had decades and decades and decades of trauma. It's not something that's going to be fixed in a week or 2 weeks or even a few months. It's going to take a lot of work. So what happens is we have this hormone called cortisol. It's released in response to stress, but chronic or elevated levels can have huge detrimental effects on your body, because what's supposed to happen is you're supposed to have stressful event, cortisol comes up, you're in fight or flight. So imagine you're in a car crash or you were injured or something. You go into fight or flight mode, you deal with the trauma, and then it's supposed to come down. But unfortunately, we are all living in a perpetual state of high stress, of high fight or flight. And it happens from the moment we wake up, cortisol's up. We are go, go, go. We have coffee on an empty stomach. Cortisol goes up even more. We're not eating, which allows cortisol to keep going and going and going. Then we're dealing with crap at work. Then we have our first snack, or breakfast or whatever it is at 11 o'clock. And it's just not enough food. So cortisol doesn't really get a time to come down. And then you have a sugary snack later because you just need that like burst of energy, right? And then you start having you have that afternoon crash where your body, cortisol's finally starting to come down. And now your body crashes because it doesn't have enough energy from the cortisol was trying to sustain everything. Now you don't have enough energy in your body to deal with these things, and you crash at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Then you get home. You finally relax after a day of running around and all the stressors you're dealing with on a regular basis. And then it just feels like you shut down. Like you could just fall asleep. And this is that stress response. You finally let those cortisol levels come down. Your body's like, okay, we need to recover. But then you go to bed and you get another cortisol spike and you can't sleep. And you toss and turn all night and you're not well rested because your body is still in a stressed state. It's on high alert. So that's like sleeping with one eye opened. Your body is like waiting for the next thing to attack you, basically. So you can't get a good night's sleep. But we think we're doing fine. We're handling stress fine, and we're not. So during perimenopause, we have all these hormonal fluctuations that are happening with the progesterone and the estrogen and everything else. And that can lead to an imbalance in cortisol production or communication because, again, estrogen isn't there to keep those cortisol levels in check. So this is why, you felt like you handled stress well before and now you don't. This is why. So our threshold for stress decreases. So then we have an imbalance in cortisol production or communication in our body. So high cortisol levels can really contribute to symptoms like anxiety, irritability, sleep disturbances, difficulty managing stress. It affects appetite. You're either never hungry or starving. You have more increased cravings for high calorie dense foods. You might be more likely to experience emotional eating. And it can really interfere with our insulin sensitivity and our glucose regulation. So in the absence of food and we're in a stress state, cortisol is going to dump sugar into your bloodstream anyways, leading to insulin resistance. And that's going to, again, make it harder to lose weight. We start seeing weight gain, particularly in the abdomen. And the thing is, for cortisol, it needs somewhere to go. As long as it's pumping through our system, it needs somewhere to go. And we have receptors for cortisol everywhere in our body. But we have 4 times the receptors for cortisol in belly fat. So as long as cortisol levels are high, as long as we're in this high stress state, you will not lose belly fat because cortisol needs somewhere to go. And then you might say, well, Steph, my cortisol levels are low now, according to the test that I took. This is because you were in a state of high for so long that it's like your body has been like constantly sending that signal over and over again. It's like imagine your brain to your adrenals is like a freeway, and like it's constantly rush hour. It's go, 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 go. You're constantly sending the signal. Eventually there's going to be a car pile up. And now the brain cannot send the signal to the adrenal glands anymore because there's just like a break in communication because those levels were high for so long. And now you don't have enough cortisol. And that also comes with a lot of negative impacts. And when you have low cortisol, that takes significantly longer to fix and heal and get you to a place where you can lose weight than if you have high cortisol levels. So you want to make sure you're catching things before you get to that point. So talking back about the Dutch test, and that was a lot of information for you guys. The Dutch test is going to test those metabolic pathways so we can see where things are going wrong. Okay, so one pathway is that stress pathway we just talked about. The stress response pathway involves a very complex interaction between the hypothalamus and pituitary gland and the adrenal glands. So that's your HPA axis that we talked about. And when women encounter stress, the hypothalamus releases the hormone called CRH, which signals to the pituitary gland to release ACTH, which then turns the adrenal glands to produce cortisol. So you have these series of messengers where it's like stress, okay, send a signal, go produce cortisol. And that is our primary stress hormone. However, during perimenopause, hormonal imbalances can disrupt the functioning of that HPA axis. So then we start having those fluctuating levels of estrogen and progesterone that can affect the sensitivity of the hypothalamus and the pituitary. So those are the two that send the signal to the adrenals to produce cortisol. So this can lead to a really big dysregulation in your stress response. So this dysregulation can result in high cortisol levels, making women far more susceptible to experience heightened stress, anxiety, other stress-related symptoms during perimenopause, and it can make your symptoms significantly worse. And it's important for women going through perimenopause to really prioritize stress management techniques like proper exercise. We're not doing HIIT anymore. We're not doing the CrossFit if you are in a high stress state, okay? You need to be eating enough to buffer the stress to be able to do those things. Okay, that doesn't mean you can't. It means you need to get your body to a place where you're eating enough food so that you can. Okay, otherwise you just ends up being too much on your body and you're not going to see the changes you want anyways. Doing some mindfulness, doing some relaxation strategies to support the health and functioning of the stress response pathway, and just promoting overall well-being. Okay, so I know a lot of people are like, well, I can't reduce stress in my life. I don't have the time. And yeah, like you can't remove all stressors from your life. That's not realistic. That's not going to happen. So learning to buffer stress through proper nutrition, through proper activity, prioritizing your sleep, which sleep can be improved by eating properly, believe it or not, by eating enough food. But like that's going to be a huge part of this because like I'm not a meditation type person. If I try to meditate, I get myself more stressed out because I start thinking of all the things that I have to do and could be doing, and then I feel worse. So I need to do activity. I need to do I do feet up a lot. I do some reading. I'm trying to get back into journaling. Those things help a lot, but I make sure I eat enough food. This is very, very important. This is your first line of defense. The next pathway that we have is our DHEA pathway. So DHEA is a precursor hormone that's produced by the adrenal glands, and it's converted into other hormones in your body, which include estrogen and testosterone. DHEA levels tend to decline with age and during perimenopause. However, DHEA levels can be high or low due to an elevated stress response. Shocking, right? Stress affects everything. So this decline in the DHEA levels can result in an even more aggressive drop in your estrogen and testosterone. So helping, like the Dutch test really helps us understand which pathway DHEA is prioritizing. That can really help us understand what's going on in your body. So it can be shuttled into like progesterone, androgens, testosterone, and an imbalance can contribute to symptoms like reduced libido, mood swings, fatigue, decreased muscle tone, and lower DHEA levels can also affect your bone health and cognitive function as well as your metabolism, making it harder to lose weight. Then there's the estrogen detox pathway. So this is also found in the Dutch test. During perimenopause, as estrogen levels start to fluctuate, the body's ability to effectively metabolize and eliminate estrogen can really be affected. So the estrogen detox pathway primarily occurs in our liver, where estrogen undergoes a series of chemical reactions. It's broken down, and eventually we typically get rid of it through bowel movements. However, during perimenopause, this pathway becomes less efficient, so we're not as good at detoxing estrogen and getting it out of our body. So this means that estrogen can accumulate in our body, leading to breast tenderness, bloating, mood changes. So it can also increase your cancer risk, which is not good. So to support the estrogen detox pathway during perimenopause, it's essential to focus on liver health, maintaining a balanced diet rich in antioxidants and fiber, and focus on liver health to really help us get rid of the extra estrogen in our body. And engaging in physical activity regularly can help with this as well. Working closely with healthcare professionals can help evaluate estrogen metabolite levels and develop personalized strategy to support optimal estrogen detox and overall hormonal balance during perimenopause. This is not me telling you to do a juice cleanse. If you go and do a juice cleanse, I'm going to be mad. That is not a good idea. What we want to do to help improve your detoxing, I talked about this on a past podcast, we spend so much money on detox teas and detox juice cleanses and all this crap, but we don't maintain it. So what I mean is, imagine you're trying to clean your pool and you're like, okay, I'm going to drain all the water. I'm going to clean it all out and then we'll be good. So then you fill your pool back up with water and you're not doing anything to maintain the cleanliness of your pool. You're not cleaning it out. You're not skimming the top for bugs and leaves and dirt and all that kind of stuff. So it gets really dirty again. So this is exactly what you're doing. So the things to help really promote healthy liver is decrease alcohol consumption, because alcohol is incredibly hard on our liver. It's a toxin, and your body will only focus on working on that and getting rid of it in your body before it handles everything else. We're eating like highly processed foods, and we are eating out of plastic containers all the time and warming up food in plastic containers and eating fast food. Those are all shown to have toxins in them that can be in our blood, like phthalates, because we are opting for fast food more often than not. So we're not doing things to maintain healthy liver. We think a juice cleanse is just going to fix us. Like, no, let's be smart here and actually be preventative and maintaining proper liver health, okay? The next pathway that we have is the last one I'm going to talk about is the methylation pathway. Methylation is a process that involves the addition of a methyl group to molecules, to DNA, to proteins, neurotransmitters, and it plays a very crucial role in various bodily functions, including hormone metabolism, detoxification, gene expression, and neurotransmitter synthesis. However, during perimenopause, methylation rates can become imbalanced, which may contribute to symptoms and health issues. This can also be a genetic issue. So reduced methylation capacity can affect the metabolism and clearance of hormones, leading to hormonal imbalances and symptoms like our mood swings, hot flashes, and of course, weight gain. Decreased methylation rates can impact the expression of genes, so you can start experiencing more inflammation, more oxidative stress, issues with hormone regulation, potentially an increased risk of chronic diseases and autoimmune conditions, neurotransmitter imbalances, all of these, and then that's going to impact like your mood and your cognitive abilities. You feel like you can't focus, you've got more brain fog, you can't multitask like you used to. And this happens during perimenopause and menopause. yet nobody talks about it. So optimizing methylation and supplementation can help support hormone balance and reduce symptoms. And it's really important to know how your body is detoxing things. Again, a detox tea or a detox juice cleanse will not help support this. It will not. Do not go thinking that a detox is going to help, because I promise you it will not. Okay. There's other things that the Dutch test also shows us, like vitamin B12 markers, B6, glutathione, gut markers, biotin markers, dopamine markers, norepinephrine, epinephrine, neurotransmitters, oxidative stress. So it really gives us a really big full picture as to what's going on in your body. And if you don't know what's going on in your body, if you don't understand how your body works, if you don't understand how what you're doing right now is influencing your body currently and how it's going to affect it down the road, both hormonally and metabolically, of course you're not going to reach your goals. Of course you're not going to be able to stick to things, because we're just doing things and thinking it's going to work, but we don't understand the why behind it all, which is really, really important. So once we have these numbers, we can really help develop a protocol or coaching pathway or roadmap to start solving issues you might be having. So what does something like that really look like? It depends on the results, 100%. So with most people, regulating your HPA axis is going to be step number one, because no hormonal issues will be solved until we address that. Remember how I talked about that hierarchy? Cortisol is at the top. And then it influences testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, DHEA, thyroid, your blood sugar control, your gut health, your liver. It literally controls everything in your body. So that's always going to be step number one. And I have yet to find a person where we didn't have to increase their calories, where we didn't have to pay attention to their carbohydrate intake and making sure they're getting enough of that, adjusting exercise so they're not overstressing their body. So again, it's going to take time, but this is kind of like a nice way to kind of have that straight and narrow, like, okay, this is the plan. There's less like, okay, let's see how your body responds to this. Let's see how your body responds to that. It's okay, this is what's going on. This is how we can address this. So again, we're doing this through nutrition that's targeted at helping blood sugar control, cortisol management, inflammation, improving your cortisol curve. It can look like timing carbohydrates at certain times of day and figuring out how many carbs is too much at one meal. So for example, I'm working with a client right now, and she was good, and then had a couple days of low energy after lunch, and we were looking at it, and it was a really easy fix. The days that she was experiencing a lot of exhaustion, her carbohydrate intake was at like 130 grams at lunchtime. So we dropped it down to 100, and now she's doing great. She's still eating well over 200 grams of carbohydrates a day, which is fantastic. We're around 225, but we figured out that at any one meal, we really can't be over 100, because then her blood sugar response is off a little bit, and she starts experiencing energy issues. So adjusting that is going to help with hormonal issues as well. And then it's like looking at what your workouts look like. What's your nutrition around your workouts? Because you should be having a snack pre and post workout. Again, all of these things, all the information that we can get makes it more specific to you and your body. That does not mean it's going to be a short journey. It's going to be shorter than if we hadn't done the Dutch test, but these things take time. Think of the years that it took for your hormones to get to this place. It's going to take some time. It's not going to be a 3-month process, likely not even a 6-month process. For most people, it's going to be a year. You can see a lot of change in 6 months, but you're not going to be quote unquote done. You're not going to be at your goal. It's going to take some time, because the healing process cannot be rushed. This is huge. And again, we might recommend some supplementation, but we are always going to recommend lifestyle and nutrition protocols first. So what does this tell us all about the hormonal imbalances that we're seeing? It impacts your metabolism, your quality of life, your ability to build and maintain muscle mass, to have energy, to sleep, your ability to lose weight. All of these things matter, and we have to address the root cause of them and figure out what is going on to help you. And the main course of action that you can do is message us. I will help you figure out your calorie intake. Make sure you're eating enough food, having enough carbs, having enough protein. Make sure exercise is kind of where it should be. And that's it. It doesn't have to be crazy, super complicated. If you do Dutch testing with us, we send you the Dutch test, you send it back, you get a return label on it so you don't have to worry about shipping it back. Then once we get your results, we go through every single thing that comes on it and make a written report for you, because it's very complicated looking. It can be very overwhelming, especially if you don't know what you're looking at. So we will actually write out a written report outlining, okay, this is what your estrogen showed. This is what some indications are. Here's what we would do to help improve those levels. And we'll talk about nutrition, lifestyle, all those kinds of things, offer you some supplementation options as well. And then we do that for every single thing. And then we give you a nice big summary page of, okay, based on everything all together, these are the biggest red flags. These are the things that are going to help you. You get a Zoom call with us as well, where we go over everything with you in real time, so you can ask all the questions that you have. But we outline everything that you need to know. Like, we give you all the answers. So if you have questions on that, there's a video as well in the show notes for you. But again, if you need help figuring stuff out, you guys just message me. Remember, this is huge for me. I just want people to understand how their body works, that it's not just eat less, move more. Please share any podcast episodes that you find helpful with other women, because the stories are just getting more and more devastating. And I cannot believe this is the state of our healthcare. And a lot of other practitioners and coaches and stuff just don't get a good full understanding on perimenopause and menopause and how hormones really impact everything. Pushing fasting, crazy workouts, and no rest periods, or it's 30 seconds and you're doing the HIIT, and all these things that are actually more detrimental for you, making these hormonal issues worse. So please, 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 please share the things. We do have a contest right now for $200, a $200 prize just for rating and reviewing the podcast. So if you can do that, that'd be amazing. You could be winning $200 cash, which is awesome. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please reach out to me. I will always answer. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.